No, Saidu, I haven't do attendance yet, so don't do present. Do not type in your present yet because I'm not doing your. So but I'll take it later on. All right, so let's take a look at your online homework here. So question number 12B. So this is question 12B. Okay. So how do we do question 12B in this case is you have to, since there are division, so you have to divide. So this is P2, question 12B. So when you guys, this is a division here. So when you guys divide numbers, you have to divide or reduce. For exponents, make sure that they have the same base, then you can subtract. And when I say subtract, means you do it from the top to the bottom, minus. So for this example, 24/9, it can be reduced by 3. So you will get 8/3. Okay, so so when you reduce 24/9 is 8/3. So leave your number as 8/3. Don't change it to become like 2/3 or some like a mixed number. So change it as a improper fractions, we call it. So leave it at 8/3. And then if you look at your x plus y, since the x plus y, if you look at the question here, has exactly the same base, but one of them is a power 5, and then the other one is a power 1. So what you do here is you subtract your power. So in this case, 5 minus 1, so it is actually 4. So so what happened is that your answer in this case will be 8/3 x plus y to the power of 4. So how do you put this in your answer here is first you put the fraction symbol here. So the top one is 8. The bottom one is 3. That's how you reduce the 8/3. And then after that, you have to do the x plus y to the power of 4. Now, since we did it just now over here that this power 4 is a positive, so we will put this on the numerator. Okay, so in this case, you will get parentheses x plus y, close parentheses, and then make it to the power of 4. What's my power symbol? If you need to find power, no symbol for power. Can't find it. So somewhere over here. Yep, there you go. This is a symbol for power, and then you put 4 in here. So this is how you do this question 12B. So you asked me how to do question 12B. So this is how we do question 12B. So make sure that you reduce that first before you do your your subtraction here. Next question 13. This time we have to multiply. So so for question 13, again multiply the numbers you multiply, the exponents you add. So so for question 13A, what you need to do here is you just multiply your number. So the number I have for question 13A is 4 and 8. So 4 times 8, which gives us 32. And then for your exponents, you add them. So in this case, y is going to be to the power of, we have -6 plus 8. You're going to add it. So that will give us 2. So in this case, your answer will be 32 y to the power of 2. So this is 32 y to the power of 2. Okay. For question B is easier because since they have exactly the same base, so your base in this case will be z plus 8. And then after that, you do it to the power of, and then again, for the powers, you need to add them. So we have -9 plus -1. So this will give me -10. So, so unfortunately, because your power is negative, so you have to put this in the denominator. Okay, so it goes to the denominator. So your answer in this case will be 1 over, and then your z plus 8 to the power of 10. So this is how you put your answer here. So this will be, again, 1 over z plus 8 to the power of 10. Okay, so 9 plus 1 is 10. So this is how we do question number 13. Okay. Next is 21. Oh, sorry, I used the symbol X. Should be Z. Yep, they are very picky. So like what I just did just now, it should be Z, it's not X. So so what's happening is they mark you wrong. So so make sure you watch carefully with all your symbols. Next is 21. 21 is where you have to simplify this radical here. So 21a. So in order for you to simplify this radical, you have to break it out. So kind of like separate this. Do not forget that this is a cube root. So when you do cube root, you need to do the perfect cube. Okay, cube root is perfect cube. Like 1, 8, 27, nope, 4 times 4 is 64, 125. So these are what we call as a perfect cube. 1 is 1, cube, perfect cube 8 is 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so on. So in this case, the 81, we have to try to figure out what times what is 81. So question 20. Okay, give me a second, I'll do that. So what times what is 81? So for question A here is we are doing 81 here. So for 81, we are figure out what times what, and you have to use one of these perfect cube except for one because one goes into it. So can someone tell me which perfect cube here is a factor of 81? Can 8 goes into 81, 27, 64, or 125? Which one of these can goes into 81? Only one of these numbers, beside one, not. So it's 27. So in this case, that is correct. So in this case, 27 times 3, right? That is 81. So so what you do here is, because 27 is a perfect cube, so this will give me 3 cube root of 3. Okay, and then look at the variables. For the variables, you have x to the power of 4. So how do we do variables? For this case is we want to figure out the smallest perfect cube. In this case will be x cubed. So what we do here is we will change this to x cubed times x1. Because 3 plus 1 gives us 4, and x cubed is a perfect cube. So in this case, you will get x, because this is a perfect cube. So this is perfect cube, and that perfect cube will give me an x. Okay, and then 27 is also a perfect cube, and that is going to give me a 3. So what you left here now is a cube root of x. So for x4, you get x cubed of x. So what you do next is you combine this together. Since the 3 and the x is already outside the cube root, so you can multiply them to become 3x. And then you do the cube root of what is still inside is still 3x, because you got 3 on here and the x here. So your answer in this case is 3x cube root of 3x. So so it's 3x And then you do the cube root, not the square root. There is a cube root symbol here. And then you put a 3 in there, and then the 3x. So this is how we do question 21A. Those students who do question 22B, make sure that your absolute value has to be written down. So a lot of students, when they do the question 21B, you just need to put the absolute, you're missing the absolute value of x. This is usually when I look at a lot of students ask me question on 21B, it was like, I got this wrong. Actually, you get it right. You just didn't put the absolute value on the x. Okay, so make sure that you put an absolute value on your x in this case. Yeah, because they are you needed that. Okay, this is one of the questions that I see a lot of people ask me. 23. So for question 23, this is a question 23 here. So we have to do addition and subtraction. In order for us to add and subtract here, you need to have like radicals. So what's the meaning when I say like radicals? Like radicals means that you have to have the same, exactly same index, in this case of cube root, which is good. And then you have to make inside the index, we call the radicand, has to be the same. So this is not like radicals. So in order for us to do the right radicals here is you have to break each one of these down like what we just did in question number 21A. Okay, so what do you do here in this case is you have to, so for this case, you have to do 23. So you have to do individually. So 4 cube root of 128 x cubed. So in this case that you have to figure out since 120, again, we do like what we just did last time here. So 128, you have to figure out, so which one of this perfect cube number that I listed up here goes into 128. And you have to pick the biggest one. Okay, yes, 64 will be the correct one. Although 8 can go into 128, but you want a bigger number than 8. So when you guys look at how you break this down, you pick the biggest perfect cube here. The reason why is because if you pick the smaller one like 8, you have to redo it again. So you have to do like a couple steps, which is a bit more work. So it's better for us to keep on going the list and pick the biggest one. So in this case, it will be 64 times 2. Right, 64 times 2 is a 28. So in this case, that 64 is a perfect cube of 4. So you get 4 cube root of 2. Okay, and then for the x cube, the good news is because x cube is already perfect cube of x. Okay. So these are already perfect cubes. So x cube is perfect cube. So you do not need to do anything. So these are the one that I highlight is outside the cube root. So in this case, when you combine this will give you 4x cube root of 2. Okay, and then don't forget this is just the first one. Oh, by the way, you have another 4. I forget that. If you look at this question, it has another 4 outside. So in this case, this 4 and this 4 will be multiplied. So this won't become 4 here. It becomes 16x cube root of 2. Because 4 is 16 times x, 16x, and then your cube root is still 2 in here. And then you do the second part of it, which is the cube root of 16x3. Okay, so you do the second part, which is the 16 cube root of x3. So in this case, that again you break it down like what I just did just now. So 16, anyone know 16? Based on this number, anyone know what 16 will be goes into 16? 8, 27, 64, 125. So what of this number will goes into 16 here? So this is not that tough. Yep, 8 will be the correct number. Oh, I just messed up. So in this case, become 8 times 2. So you will get 8 is a perfect cube of 2. So you will get 2 cube root of 2. Okay. And then same thing happens to your x cube because your x cube is a perfect cube. So it become x. So you notice that this will belongs to outside the 2 and the x. So in order for us to break this down, this is 2x cube root of 2. Okay. So what happened now is you have to add this up. So now you got the 16x cube root of 2 and you add the 2x cube root of 2 and you find out that these two are having what we call as like radical because cube root of 2 and cube root of 2 is the same. So you just need to add these two out. So what is 16x plus 2x? So what you need to do is you add. So anyone know what 16x plus 2x is? So what's 16x plus 2x? So this is 16x and this is 2x. Yep, so you will get 18x cube root of 2. So that is your answer in this case. So you do, the answer here is 18x and then you just put a cube root of 2 in this case. Cube root of 2. Now I want you guys to go ahead and try to do 23b. So again, if you do not know how to do 23b, do you see the watch it button here? So click on it and then watch it. And since B, so you click part B. So make sure you watch this fellow. The only thing about this watch is this is no longer, this is a square root. So the one that is question B is a cube root. So that's the reason why that what you need to do here is you have to do the cube root like what I did just now using the Windows, this question 38 here. So go ahead, try to go ahead and do this question, okay? All right, so that's it for the homework. So if you do have extra any, yeah, the watch it is a very good video. That's why mostly all the homework has a watch it button. So I don't know you guys know that or not because the watch it is actually is like heaven. So when you guys go to the next class, college algebra, and if I'm not your teacher, then if whoever the teacher is assigning online homework like this, and they all have the watch it symbol, just watch it because it is it's really gonna help you guys with it. So you just follow. It's like a minute-long video. It's not very long video. So you just watch it, and then that would be a good practice. That would be a good way to do it. I would really recommend it. Okay. So so if you have any questions, do stay back after the Zoom meeting. We can talk about it. Right now, we will talk about your P3 here. So so don't forget you got 2 online homework due tonight. P1 and P2. Oh, I forgot P1. So sorry about P1. Who asked for P1? P1 question 20. Yeah, totally forget that one. So if I forget something, just remind me again because I got, I'm doing this. So P1 question number 20. Let me go back to my. Yep. P1 question 20. Question 20 P1. All right, the distance. Okay, so this is P1 question 20. Sorry. So in order for you to find the distance between A and B, so the distance between A and B the formula is b minus a. Okay, so if you want to find the distance between a and b, you just take b minus a. So in this case, b is given as 50, and then you minus with your a in this case is negative 40. And since you got two negative, so you add. So 50 plus 40, so your answer in this case is 90. Okay, so this is how you find the distance between a and b. Same thing happens to the fraction underneath it, the 21. You just need to minus these two up. So make sure it's b minus a, okay, not a minus b. A lot of students get it wrong is because they take a minus b. That is wrong. It should be b minus a. Okay, so I think that is mostly a lot of students make mistake here. So make sure you guys take b minus a here. Okay, all right. So good. We'll talk about your P3 right now. So we do polynomial and special product. So this this section is mostly talking about foiling. So do you guys know how to FOIL, which is called the first, outside, inside, last, FOIL. So we're going to be multiplying. So when you hear the word product, the word product means multiply. Change it to red. There. Okay. So when so what happened is that so product means multiply. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is polynomial. So what is a polynomial? Polynomial is a function where you got lots of terms here and they all have the variables in it. Okay. So this is called a polynomial with a degree of n. Why we say this is degree of n is because n is the highest power you can get. Okay. Usually the number that we call the an minus 1, all these are numbers. We call it coefficient. And the one in the front is called the leading coefficient. So, and the one at the way back, which that doesn't have any x, we call it constant term. Okay. For example, would be like 4x squared minus plus 2x minus 8. So this is a polynomial where 4 is what we call as a leading coefficient and the negative 8 is your constant term, not 8, negative 8. What happens if I don't have negative 8? This is also called a polynomial function here, where the leading coefficient is 4. Can someone tell me what is your constant term in this question? Anyone know what's a constant term if I change to 4x squared plus 2x? What is your constant term in this case? Anyone know what's a constant term for this? If I put last time I put a negative 8, then the constant term is negative 8 because that's the last one. But what happens if there is no negative 8, just like that? So does anyone know what is a constant term in this case? Because you will get this in your homework. Yes, your answer is 0. You're correct, Sally. That is correct. So your constant term is 0. The reason why your constant term is 0 is because there is no term, there's no x on it, no numbers. So if there's no number behind it, then it is considered 0. Okay. So polynomials can be 1, 2, 3. So one term is called a monomial, 2 terms is called a binomial, 3 terms is called a trinomial. So if I have 4x squared plus 2x, this is called a binomial because you got 2 terms. If I put a negative 8 like this will consider a three terms, which is a trinomial. What happens if I just give a negative 8 by itself? Then this is considered as a monomial. Okay, so make sure you guys know that just know how many terms. And don't forget, a number by itself, negative 8, is still considered a polynomial. This is still a polynomial. Okay, so make sure you guys know. So the constant term is negative 8. Can someone tell me what is your power? if I give you negative 8. If I give you negative 8x, then the power here should be 1. And the reason why it's 1 is because x here has a power 1. And then if I say x negative 8x to the power of 2, then your power here is 2. But what happens when I say just negative 8? Then what power is this going to be? Anyone? This is all, you will get this in your homework. So power in this case will be 0. You are correct. So if there is no x term, your power is 0. Okay. And then when you write a polynomial, usually we write this in a descending power of your x. We call it as a standard form. So that means that if I give you a negative 8 plus 3x to the power of 4 minus 2x, this is not what we call as a standard form because it has to arrange your power from high to low. So if you want to write this in a standard form, then the 3 to the x to the power 4, that is the highest power, come first. Okay, and then minus 2x is the next one, and then minus 8. So this is what we call as a standard form, and we always write polynomial in standard form like this. We won't write polynomials like the one I just wrote on the first one, because it'll be easy for you guys to do factoring and anything on the next section. So that's the reason why that every time we see standard form for polynomials means the high power comes first and then slowly it goes to the no powers. Okay. Usually, how do we add and subtract polynomials? We combine like terms. And so any like terms, which I think you guys know that, you can combine them. What happens if you have two polynomials that have been multiplied? Either you use distributive property or you FOIL it. Okay. Then we have some special product. So we got 3 special product here. Again, I put a checkpoint here just to tell you that if you want to memorize those formula, do it, but I will recommend do not memorize it. The reason why I don't want you guys to memorize this is because you got a lot of formulas to memorize later on. So the best way for us to do this kind of question is to FOIL it. Okay, so don't forget when you guys so I will recommend foiling. So don't use the formula, don't use this formula. You FOIL it. So when you FOIL it, it's a bit longer step, but you will still get the same answer here, especially with the power 3. Okay. So during the test, can we look at the formulas? If you look at these formulas, do you know how to apply it? That's my next question here. So I will recommend that so make sure that you understand what you're doing, because I understand if you, again, in the test, you have to write everything out. As long as you write something out and is understandable, then yes, you will do it. But I just want to point out to you that this formula is a little bit hard here, as I will recommend just do the foiling to be in a safe way. Okay. So I will show you the FOIL way, and then I will show you the product. So when you guys do the sum and difference of same terms, what do you mean by sum of difference of same term? Means they're exactly the same terms, but one of them is addition, one of them is subtraction. Then you have to you just multiply the u and the v. So u times u is u squared, v times v is v squared, and then you put a negative because minus and plus give you minus. So usually when you do this, when you FOIL, your middle term will be canceled out. Okay, so when you FOIL this, your middle term cancel. So that's the reason why you only do the first and the last. Okay, for this. This is very important, the one that I'm talking to you to. Squaring a binomial is where you got u plus v squared and u minus v squared. The formula says u squared plus 2uv plus v squared, or u squared minus 2uv minus v squared. So this is a plus and minus, but the back one is all pluses. Again, I will recommend you to FOIL this. The reason why I say I want you guys to FOIL this fellow is because a lot of students make mistake here. For example, x plus 4 squared. A lot of students will forget the 8x. I have a lot of students when they do this in my test, they will do, oh, x squared is x squared, 4 squared is 16. So my answer is x squared plus 16. Oh, that will be wrong. Okay, so that's the reason why that when you guys, I just want to point out to you because I got even calculus students doing that same mistake. When we do x plus 4 squared and the students just do x squared plus 16, it'll be a big no-no. And because of this, everything underneath is wrong. As I think you guys know that doing math is like it has a domino effect. Means if you start something wrong, everything after that is all going to be wrong. So that's the reason why that be careful with this. So I would recommend you because it does have an 8x. And where is this 8x come from? This 8x come from the 2 and the 4 and the x. So if you multiply the 2, the 4, and the x, you will get 8x. Okay, and it always works. And if this is a plus, then this is a plus. If this is a minus, then this is a minus. So this is how we do the formula, is you square the first one, you square the last one, which is x squared and 16, and then forget to multiply these numbers out, 2, 4, and x. That's why you get 8x. And I want to point out to you that this method only can be done when you square, okay? When you square it. So when you cube it, you cannot do the cubing. Like, oh, David says it's cubed, so it's x times 4 times 3, it's 12x. No, that is not correct, okay? For cubing, this is a formula for cubing, which is like really tough. And I really, really strongly do not need to know this. I think when you go to calculus, then maybe you will start to know this. So do not do this. So what is the best way to do power 3 here is you FOIL it 3 times. So you got x plus 2. Like the example we have is x plus 2 cubed. So you do x plus 2 times x plus 2 times x plus 2. So you do it like 3 times. This is the best way to do it because a lot of students make mistake if they use this formula. I can guarantee you guys that. So that's the reason why that I do not want you guys to do this, the cube ones. So how you do this case is you FOIL the first 2. So you do the x plus 2 and x plus 2. When you FOIL this, you will get x squared. And then because 2 and 2, if you add them, you will get 4x plus 4. So this is how you FOIL really quickly on these 2 terms. So x times x is x squared, x times 2 is 2x, and then 2 times x is 2x. So the 2x and 2x give me the 4x, and then you do the 2 times 2 is 4. And then after that, you multiply this with x plus 2 again, because you still have the third x plus 2 you have to multiply. And now you begin to FOIL this fellow. So this one is a little bit more work here. So, so you have to, let's FOIL this one up. So how do I FOIL this case is I just take all this multiply by x, and then all this multiply by 2, and then combine like terms. So when you multiply all this is a 3 terms, and this is a 2 terms. So 3 times 2, you should get 6 terms here. So x squared times x will give you x cubed. And then 4x times x, you will get 4x squared. And then 4 times x, you will get 4x. So this is, I take all the first one, multiply by x. And then now I take all those and multiply by 2. So x squared plus 2 is 2x squared. And then this is going to be long. And then 4x times 2 is 8x. And then 4 times 2 is 8. And then after that, you combine like terms. So x cubed you will get here. This is the x cubed here. And then 4x squared and 2x squared, 4 plus 2, you will get 6x squared. And then 4x plus 8x is 12x. And then you got the 8 behind. So that is how we do this answer here. So I would recommend you not to use this formula. Okay, I would recommend you to FOIL. This is how we call it, FOILing. So please FOIL this follow up, and I would really, really recommend you do it. Okay, otherwise you get a lot of mistakes in your homework, and a lot of you will ask me the question. All right, for the first question, they want you to do a standard form. So standard form means you have to arrange this from high to low power. So this is the highest power, we put in first, and then 2x and the 6 is the next one. The degree here is 3. The reason why the degree is 3 is because the highest power is 3 and the leading coefficient is -7. Okay, so this question is asking us to do all this work. Question 2 is you have to find the difference, you have to subtract this. When you subtract this, be careful with the negative here because you have to distribute. So you have to distribute the negative here. So the front remains the same, but the back you distribute negative. You got a negative x squared plus 2x plus 3. And then after that, you combine like terms. Okay, so you combine like terms. So in this case, you will get the 2x cubed negative x squared, because these two are, so the only like terms we have is a negative x and 2x, so that will give us a positive x, and then the 3 and 3 will give us a 6. So this is how we do P3. It's not that difficult actually, P3. Does anyone have any questions so far for me before I continue with the next few examples? Anyone have any questions for me? Okay, good. If you do, either you voice out for me or you talk to me or chat with me so I know what's going on. Next, we have to find the product. Product means multiply, and write this in the standard form. So for this case, usually we will do foiling. Okay, so like this is what we call as foiling. So 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times negative 5 is 15x. 1 negative 1 times x is negative x. And negative 1 times negative 5 is plus 5. And then usually the foiling, the middle term, you can combine to become negative 6x squared. So your answer is 3x squared minus 6x plus 5. And make sure that you write your answer in standard form. That means high to low powers. So this is what we call foiling. The next section, P4, when you guys do P4 on Thursday, we will do the backwards. That means now I give you this polynomial. You have to give me the binomial terms. It's called binomial terms, and we call it factoring. So make sure you guys know the difference between foiling and factoring. Usually when you see parentheses, we want you to foil. If I want you to go backwards, I will always use the word factor. Okay. For question B, you just need to do this 3 times. So you take the x squared plus 2x plus 3, you kind of distribute to your x squared, and then you multiply it with your negative 2x, and then you multiply this with 3. So someone asked you, David, do we have a shortcut? The answer is no, there is no shortcut here. You have to do this. And you just need to check how many terms do we have when you multiply this. How do you check? It's very easy. This is a 3 terms, and this is a 3 terms. So 3 times 3 is 9. So you should get 9 terms here. So make sure you guys know that this one has a 9 terms, and then after that you can reduce it. So what I did here is I take x, all this times x squared, I will get x4 negative, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. I distribute, sorry. So I distribute your x squared to all the x squared minus 2x. So I distribute this one first. And then after that, I will distribute the 2x. Okay. So once I finish this, I distribute the 2x and I distribute the 3. So x squared times x squared is x4. X squared times negative 2x is negative 2x cubed. X squared times 3 is 3x squared. And then you multiply 2x with x squared, which is 2x cubed. 2x with negative 2x, negative 4x squared. And then 2x with 3 is 6x. And then lastly 3. So 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times negative 2x is negative 6x, and 3 and 3 give you 9. So you should get a total of 9 terms here. And then what we do next is we combine like terms. So x4 is by itself. You find out that for the x cubed, the 2x and the positive 2x, they come 0 up when you add them up. So you don't need that term. So 3x squared plus minus 4x squared plus 3x squared, a total of 2x squared, and then you got a 9. The 6x also cancel out. So this is how we do question B. Question C, you can do it 2 ways. You can use it foiling. When you foil, you just do x plus 10 times x plus 10. So you can foil this if you want to. So when you foil this, you will get the same thing as the x squared plus 20x plus 100. Okay, so you can foil this follow out. If you do not want to foil it out, you can use a formula. you take the x, you square it, you take the 10, you square it, 100, and then you multiply the one inside. So 2 times 10 times x, you get 20x. Okay, so it's either you FOIL it out or you just use a formula. This is the one I would not recommend you because this is the formula. So what I recommend you to do question E here is to multiply this 3 times. So 4x minus 1 times 4x minus 1 times 4x minus 1. So you just need to FOIL this 3 times. Oh, actually 2 times. You guys with me here? You know what I'm trying to say here? If you try to do this formula, chances of you making these mistakes here is 99%. I can tell you that you will get the wrong answer. So I would recommend you to just FOIL it, and you will still gonna get the same answer. It's a bit longer way, but it will be definitely correct, safe. Okay, so I don't want you guys to do this. If you are going to calculus class, yes, then I would recommend you to do this, but you are still in the very beginning algebra class, so I would recommend you to FOIL out, like what I just did in the x plus 2 here. Okay, so make sure you FOIL it out. For question C, this is called the sum of difference square because you find out the numbers are exactly the same term, except one is plus and one is negative. So when you do this, you just do the F and the L. So you do not need to do the inside and outside. So 3x times 3x, you get 9x squared. 2 times negative 2, it comes negative 4. Okay. Question F, if you want to do the easy way, then because I just want to point out what happens in, you can also FOIL it too. Because I will really recommend you, again, you're not in the calculus level yet, so I will recommend you to FOIL this one out too. But if you want to know the easy way, is you take, because these two have, if you see me drawing the box here, they have exactly the same, and then the 3y is also has exactly the same. This is the same thing as question C because one of them is plus, one of them is minus, and they have the same term. So this is actually the same thing as part C there, the one that we just do here. So you just do the first and the last. So when you do the first, you do x minus 2 times x minus 2, which is x minus 2 squared, and the last is positive 3y times negative 3y, you get negative 3y squared, and then you just FOIL this follow up, and that will be your answer. But if otherwise, if you do not want to do like the one that I show you in part C, then you just do the longer way, which is what we did in part B, okay, the one that we just did up there. So what do I mean by that is you can take x times with the x minus 2 minus 3y, like the one we did in part B, and then you take the negative 2. So you just take this x term, multiply to all this, and then you take the negative 2, multiply to the same thing, x minus 2 minus 3y, and then you take the positive 3y, and then you multiply to the rest of it. So it's a bit longer way to do this, but your answer is still gonna be the same. So this is something like what you do in part B, this one, the one that you see here, the 9 terms. 9 terms. Okay, so so you can do that also, and then you will still gonna get the same thing as this question F. So as I want to tell you that there is a lot of ways for you to do this kind of questions, but the answer is still the same. So I'm gonna tell you again, in the test, someone asked me, David, can I use a formula? Can I use FOILing? Can I do both? My answer is do not do both. Do either FOILing or do either the formula. Do not do both because you're wasting your time. Your answer is going to be the same. Okay, so make sure you guys know how to, but I will tell you that FOIL is the most easy way and the most secure, and you will probably get the correct answer. The formula way is going to be a little bit tough. Okay, anyone have any questions here before we move on to the next page, the last page? All right, so before I move on to the last page, which is a word problem here, yeah, it's a bit more tough. I want you guys to go ahead and go to the chat room and type do attendance. So go ahead and type present here. So Mr. Saidu and everyone, please type present. Yep, thank you. Yes, yep, everyone please type present. I don't know, I don't care if you did it early on, do it now. Okay, yep, thank you so much. And please can concentrate on the last question here. I know this is some of you already did this before in your high school or something else, but this question 4 is hard. The reason why it's hard is because it is word problem. Okay, and yes, you will get these kind of questions in your homework on P3. Okay, so what happened is that you have an open box, and it is made by cutting squares on each corners, and this is 10 by 12 inches. So that means that you got a rectangle is 10 by 12 inches, and then on the edge of each cut the square in X inches. So what happened is that this is cut X. Okay, so for example is I can show you an example here is, let's say you got a piece of paper. Okay, and let's say that this is 12 inches and this is 10 inches. Okay, and what do I do here is I do boxes on the corner, and I take out X inches. Okay, so on each corner I take out X inches. So I'm going to tear this one out. So I'm making a 2-dimension to a 3-dimension. What do I mean here is that this is a 2-dimension, which is just a plane, just a piece of paper, and I'm going to make it as a box. The box is a 3-dimension. We call it as an open box here. So I tear this one out. So what happened is that this used to be 12. Now I tore the x's out. So from here to here, it's going to be 12 minus 2x. So that's why if you look at your box, you see 12 minus 2x is because it is, why 2x is because there is an x here and there is an x here. So you are taking 2 x's out from 12. Okay. And if you go on to the other, to your width, which is this one, okay, the whole thing is 10, but you're taking also 2 x's out. So you have what we call, we have 10 minus 2x. So the width will be 10 minus 2x, and then this is 12 minus 2x, and then you fold it up. So you fold this paper up, and you get yourself a box. You get yourself a box. And this box, the length is 12 minus 2x. The width is 10 minus 2x. And the height is x. This height will be x because you tore the x length out. So this is the box that I'm trying to draw. So if you look at your picture here, this is the box that I got here, and it is 12 minus 2x, 10 minus 2x, and x. Okay. So this question wants you to find the volume. So in order for you to find the volume is length times width times height. So this is a formula to find the volume of a box. The length is 10 minus 2x. The width is 12 minus 2x, and your height is x. So it doesn't matter, you can always interchange this because of association property of multiplication. So you can change all this, and then what you do next is you have to multiply in. So I would not recommend you to FOIL this first 2 because it looks, then you can FOIL this 2 and then distribute the x, or you can do what I just did here, distribute the x first and then after that FOIL. So you can distribute, then FOIL, or you can FOIL then distribute. Doesn't matter which one you do because you will still end up being the same answer. And there is a little hint here I want to point out to you that the hint here is you should get a cube function. The reason why that you should get a cube function is because it's a 3-dimension. A 3-dimension, usually you have a power 3. So if you do not have a power 3 comes up as your highest power, something is wrong with your work. Okay. So make sure you guys know that volume is always have a cube. Area, usually you have a power 2. Okay. Area, you have a power 2, no power 3. Okay. And then next, this question, once you get this volume, the next question is asking you to find a volume when x equals to 2. So what you do is you just plug 2 here. So plug 2 to your x, and you will get your volume. And then you do the same thing for 3 in this case. Okay. All right. So this is P3 here. So does anyone have any questions how we do P3 in this case? We still have a few more minutes, so we can do a little bit of P4. Anyone have any questions? So I just want to point out to you that your online homework due next Monday is P3 and P4. Okay, so this is P3 here. We'll do a little bit of P4 today, and then we'll continue P4 on Thursday. Okay, I'll do a little bit of P4 now, and then after that we'll continue P4 on Thursday. So P4 is what we call as factoring. So we just did P3. P3 in this case, we call this as find the product, or sometimes we call it as simplify. Okay, so so make sure you guys know that when you do simplify, don't factor, but this time we're going to do factor in P4. So so polynomials are common factors. So we can write polynomials as a product, as a multiply, and we call that as a factoring. If a polynomial does not factor, we call that as prime. So what we so when you have or irreducible over the integers, but we always say prime. So not all polynomials can be factored. So if it's not factorable, we call it prime. And make sure that if it's factorable, make sure your factor is completely factored. What we mean by completely factor means that if you can factor some more, you have to factor some more. Some people just do a 1 factoring and I'm done. So you have to do a bit more factoring here. The most basic first step you do is you have to find what we call as a common factor. Sometimes we call it as the GCF. Okay, some of you heard about that. GCF is called the greatest common factor. Okay, so so make sure that we just what we do first thing first. That's always the first step. So for example, is when you see this 6x plus 9x squared, you find out that 3x is a common factor here. It's because 3 goes into 6 and 9, and x goes into x and x squared. So this is a common factor here, and you will take this common factor out, and then you figure out what is the number behind it by kind of like dividing, so or multiplying. So 3 times 2 you get 6, and then 3 times 3 you get 9, and the x times x gives us x squared. So this is what we call as factoring. Okay, using the factoring out the common factor. Okay, how do you check it? Checking your answer for factoring is easy. You just distribute it. Okay. So every time when you guys have finished factoring, if I give you a test and the test says, I want you to factor, and here's your factor, and how do you check it? It's very easy. Either you distribute it or you FOIL it. Okay. So if you're distributing or you're FOILing got the same thing as a question, that means your answer is correct. So like this case, when you distribute this, you should get back 6x plus 9x squared. Otherwise, your factor is wrong. Okay. There are a few factors here that I want formulas. These are the 2 main ones. Again, the cube one, I'm Xing it off. That means that yes, it's important, but do not really need to memorize them. I'll probably the first 2, yes, you will use it mostly. Again, mostly the cube ones, you see them in your calculus class. Okay, that's where the cube ones pop up a lot. So so difference of square means that the a and b here is squaring with a negative sign. So you will get a minus b and a plus b. And make sure that these two are perfect square. For example, 4x squared minus 9. If 4x squared is a perfect square of 2x, and 9 is a perfect square of 3. So you will get the 2x minus 3 and 2x plus 3. So 1 minus, 1 plus. But there is something that is very important here is this. If this is a minus, you can factor it. But if this is a plus, then this is a prime. Again, prime means that this is not factorable. Okay, so make sure you guys know that you only can do this when it is minus. Okay, when this is plus, you cannot factor it, and your answer is still going to be the same thing as a squared plus b squared. So for example, is if I change this to 4x squared plus 9, then your answer is, when I say factor 4x squared plus 9, your answer is either prime or your answer is 4x squared plus 9, means that you cannot factor it. Okay. The other one is a perfect square trinomials, means that your first and your last is trinomial, 3 terms. The first and the last are perfect square, and then the 2ab in this case is your middle term. That means you're multiplying those two up. Okay, so you will get a plus b squared and a minus b squared. For example, is x squared plus 6x plus 9. We know that x squared and 9 is a perfect square because it's x and 3. This is 6, so it's perfect because 2 times 3 times x is 6x. So this is good. But if I give you x squared plus 5x plus 9, then you cannot use this method because 3 times 2 is 6, not 5. So this one you cannot use you cannot use this formula here. So you might have to try using the ones that I show you underneath here. Okay, so so this might be a prime. I think this is prime actually. So if you factor that one, it's going to be prime. Why I say the example I give you just now here is prime is because if you think about 9, the multiples of 9 in this case is either 3 and 3 or 1 and 9. And you can tell that if you do 3 and 3, if you add them, you should get either 6. Or if you subtract them, you get 0. 1 and 9, if you add them, become 8. 10, if you subtract them, become 8. So there's no way you can get a 5 in this case. But if this is a 10, then yes, then you can factor this because we can use the 1 and 9. Okay, so for 5 in this case is a prime. Is a prime. Okay, so same thing happens with subtraction. So you just put a minus sign in the middle. So like this case is 4x squared and 25. These two are perfect square, 2x and 5. And then if you multiply 2 times 5 times 2, 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20, negative 20x. So that's why this is perfect square trinomial. So I will recommend that you guys to do these two first because that is the most basic stuff before you try to do the next that you will learn in my class on Thursday, which is the try and error, which is a lot more. Difference of cube. So how do you factor a cube is this two has to be perfect cube. And like x cubed, the perfect cube is x. 27, the perfect cube is 3. So what you do is you take x plus 3 on the first parenthesis. The next parenthesis is square the first one, x squared. And then you multiply this 3x. 3 times x is 3x. And you change your sign. The plus become negative. And then you square the last one become 9. So this is how you factor difference of cube. This two has to be a perfect cube in order for you to do that. Okay. Same thing happens with minus. 64 is a perfect cube of 4. 125x cubed is a perfect cube of 5x. So what you do first is you take 4 minus 5x, and then you square the first one is 416, and then you multiply these two. So 4 times 5 is 20x. You change the sign from negative to positive, and then you square the last one, become 5x squared. So this is how we factor this. And I want to point out to you that the last term here, 3 terms here, the trinomials here, is prime. So what I mean by prime here means is you cannot factor this. Okay, so this is stick right here is prime. So do not spend time trying to factor these last 3 terms. You do not need to do it. And some students ask me, it's like, David, do I need to put this in the standard form? Usually depends on the questions. Remember standard form that I did early on, that standard form means the high power to low power. So you do not need to do that for this, especially with minus sign, because 1 minus 2 and 2 minus 1 is not the same thing. So that's the reason why that for this case, you don't need to put this in the standard form from high power to low power. Just keep it as what you have given the questions. Okay. All right. So we're going to stop here. On Thursday, we will definitely continue doing this factoring. And I want to point out to you that factoring is a very important section. You will learn this, you will use this all the way up to your calculus classes. And by the time the teacher will not teach you how to factor. So I will recommend you guys that this factoring, please, if you're going to next to your college algebra, you will be using this a lot of time. Okay, so so that's it for today's class here. So does anyone make sure you guys put present in your those who did not did it for attendance. I think everyone who did it perfect. So anyone have any questions, you can talk to me now. If you don't have questions, you may go. So I'm gonna stop recording here. So yep.
I have question on P2 number 21B, because I don't really know how to put the answer in the box.
Doesn't have the absolute value?
Yeah, so
the absolute value button, a symbol? Yeah. If you look at your keyboard, it's above the enter. You have to press shift and then shift and then the symbol above the enter. So let me show it to you.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Yep. Where was that? This one.
Okay.
So you have to press shift first.
Yeah.
And then this one.
Okay.
Okay. So that is how you do the absolute, but and then you have to do it again to close it. You have to open it and close it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That's it.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Tammy, you got questions for me? Tammy? Questions? Nope. You there, Tammy? All right, so I will be ending this. You have questions, just email me back. Okay. All right. Good.